Alright guys, welcome back. Episode 2 of Tales from the Dark Roast. I'm your host, Mortimer James. You can call me Mort. And we have the second part of our two-part episode with Miss Drusilla Nyx, who is telling us about growing up in a house full of haints and a whole bunch of other weird, creepy things that, I don't know how I would have dealt with, growing up. So she's going to tell us the story now about Baby Ghost. Is that what you called it?
Yes, that was the name.
Now this is something that just recently you remembered or rediscovered. So tell me about that. Tell me what happened there.
So I like to listen to podcasts while I work out, and I was listening to a podcast about like ghosts and the supernatural, ironically. And the person that they had on was talking about this plantation house that sometimes children attract like other children ghosts, and it's not that I forgot this memory, it was just, it almost like unlocked it and started like flooding in all of these like past memories of this quote unquote imaginary friend that I had that I lovingly nicknamed Baby Ghost.
No, you said these were old memories, but it just been kind of forgotten about almost, like you hadn't thought about them in so long.
Yeah.
How old would you say you were when you first started, like, how old were you in these memories?
Oh gosh, I've probably had Baby Ghost since I want to say like probably from the age of when I could like talk, but I was also an only child, so theoretically yes, it could be imaginary friend. I could have absolutely made it up. However, I really feel like what I was seeing was a child ghost. Like a female child ghost.
Now, do you remember much about what they looked like? So I know you said female child ghost. Like, what specifically led you to that?
I remember that she had like short hair and had like a nightgown. Like, it didn't matter what time of the year it was, day, time, middle day, night, it didn't matter. They had a white nightgown on.
Okay. And so do you remember, like, did they interact with you? Like, what was the role there? Were they just there in the background as you were doing things, or were you actively engaging with them? Like, here, you hold this block and I'm going to hold this block, and that sort of stuff. Like,
I don't necessarily know if they ever held anything, but they were definitely always there. Like, let's say something would get broken, but like I said, I was an only child, I would get blamed for it, but I would try and tell my parents, no, it was Baby Ghost, like that's who broke it, like not me,
right?
Or that's who knocked something over, but because there was no physical child for my parents to see other than me, they blamed me. They didn't understand that I was actually seeing, so I think, a ghost that was a child.
Now, do you think that it was actually breaking things, or that's just who you blamed it on because it was there and, you didn't want to take the blame?
No, I'm fairly certain it was definitely not me, because it would be things that I wouldn't be able to reach, or things that I wouldn't have, like I would have known better than to mess with.
Right.
So.
It wasn't like a vase that was sitting on a table that you walk past every day. It's stuff that was kind of out of the way.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, this ties back into the first episode, which, by the way, you should go back and listen to that, guys, if you haven't, with the haints. Do you think that maybe it was a haint that was actually responsible for breaking things, and Baby Ghost was just there? Or do you feel like, no, it was really this small child ghost that was breaking the stuff?
It absolutely was not a haint, because like I had said in the first episode, like describing them, like there was good and evil, and I've only ever seen evil ones. This wasn't a negative presence. This was literally something that would come with me to sleepovers, go to my grandparents' house, my friend's house. Like, I want to say I probably, saw Baby Ghost until I was probably like well into middle school, and at that point, psychologically speaking, you no longer have imaginary friends at that age.
Right. You kind of outgrow them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wasn't saying that Baby Ghost was a haint. I was saying that maybe there was a separate entity. The haint was breaking these things. Baby Ghost was there. You didn't want to take the blame, so you're saying it was Baby Ghost. And Baby Ghost is sitting there like, I just want to hang out and talk shop about dolls and Barbies. Like, you guys got way cooler shit than I had growing up.
Yeah, that is very valid, but I honestly can't really say yes or no.
Gotcha.
On what the, occurrences were.
Right. It's just another thing that was in the house that just happened to be there. Gotcha. Yeah. So you just said something that I thought was interesting. You would see Baby Ghost at other people's places. Mm-hmm. So do you think it had latched onto you, or that it was latched onto the house and it would just hitchhike with you, or?
I would say it was probably something that was with me, either attached to me or the form of a guardian angel, but I saw it as a child, but to me it was a ghost, because how else do you describe that, you're a child yourself. Your vocabulary is limited.
Right.
So, yeah. I would say it was definitely something that came with me, it was almost like, now that if I think about on it was more of like a protection, protect me when I went to friends' homes that necessarily weren't places that I shouldn't say shouldn't have been, but not all of the childhood friends you get to choose. Your parents are friends with their parents, that kind of situation. So, yeah. Okay.
So, did Baby Ghost ever talk that you remember? Did you guys have conversations? Because I know with a lot of, especially with imaginary friends and young children, they will have full-on conversations with their imaginary friends. And there have been reports where some parents hear what sounds like a second voice. And not just their kid's voice, but maybe like a gruffer, older voice or a higher-pitched female voice. So, do you have any, did Baby Ghost talk with you that you remember?
I mean, I'm sure we had conversations. I have absolutely no doubt. I have, ironically, I have another imaginary friend, but again, I'm not sure if it was, an imaginary friend or it was another ghost, but it was, a male that had children. So, it was, a dad, from what I remember. And he had 6 children, and that's who I saw, that and Baby Ghost. But Baby Ghost definitely lasted a lot longer than the dad and the children. But again, I don't know if I was sensitive to those things because I was a child or if I made them up in my head. But Baby Ghost definitely was something that my parents to this day still talk about, that was 30 years ago.
Wow. Also, you just dated yourself a little bit, but that's fine. That's fine. So your parents actually have stories too about Baby Ghost. Yeah. So when these memories kind of resurfaced for you, listening to that other podcast, did you go to your mom and say, "Hey, what's the deal with Baby Ghost? Why am I just now remembering this?"
No, I definitely, because she's so skeptical about any of that. I think it was more of oh yeah, that's your imaginary friend. Let's make fun of you for having that type of thing.
Okay, so it wasn't so much a supportive role as just more of a dismissal. Okay, she's just being a kid. Yeah. Gotcha.
Where my dad, on the other hand, he's the one that believes in all that stuff. If you listen to the last episode where I described he allowed spirits, if you want to call them that, into the home, but my mom is just, to this day, very skeptical about any of that.
And you think a lot of that has to do with her religious beliefs and her faith? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And probably being scared. It's not a tangible thing. Right. So.
If you have no experience to explain it, how do you live with that?
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's going to bring up something else that you had recently told me about that I found fascinating, because I've heard this from other people. You said that your dad told you later, growing up, that when he would come home from work, he would often see a woman leaving your room.
Yeah, so the house I grew up in until I was probably 8 is actually, ironically, across the street from the house that my parents live in now. And that hallway was very long. You would walk into the big living room and then turn right, and that was where the bathroom and the bedrooms were, but it was about maybe 12 feet in length for a hallway, and my bedroom was all the way at the end. And when I was younger, I preferred to fall asleep with someone in bed next to me just for like the comfort aspect of it. And so sometimes my mom would lay down with me like parents do with their children, you know, when they're very young. And then once I fell asleep, she would do whatever she had to do or go to bed herself. So my dad would always tell me, you know, sometimes he would think it was my mom coming out of my bedroom. So again, he's walking into the front door and sees movement out of my closed bedroom door and would think that it was my mom coming out to say hello to him because she heard that he was home. But it was never her. It was always how he described like an older woman, almost like how you would picture like a grandmother. If someone just said grandmother, the image that pops into your head is what he would see. You know, gray hair, nightgown, and she would always leave my bedroom as soon as he got home, almost like acknowledging, okay, you're home now, so my job is done.
Wow. And do you have any memories of that other than outside of what your dad told you?
No. Mm-mm.
Now, putting this together with something that you said about baby ghost, that maybe she was protecting you, do you think that this could have just been another form of the same entity protecting you while you were sleeping until someone came home that, you know, could act that role?
Yeah, it's very possible that I just, you know, that there was something that always protected me. And I really, like, do feel like there is, like, even to this day, something that just protects me from evil. You know, did I manifest it myself? I probably absolutely could, because that's what poltergeist activity is children manifesting those things, you know, in homes, which you can do your own research on. But I don't think these were negative things. I think they were very positive and loving and caring things that protected me.
Do you think this could have been something that was coming over from your mom's side of the family? So your dad kind of brought in the wicked, the little bit of the evil and the darkness, whereas your mom's faith was more of a light, like a beacon, and maybe that was her protection, whether she was doing it unwillingly or not, but I'm sure she probably said prayers for you all the time. And maybe that was, you know, almost like the universe or the world's way of balancing out the light and dark in your life by having that entity there.
So, ironically, you say that, yes, it probably was either someone from my mom's side of the family, because all of her family is deceased, and her grandmother was still alive when I was born, but then passed away. But her mom died when she was younger, so it could be either of those female, you know, entities. And my dad just never told me, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't think, the way he described it, again, the hallway was long, and it would always be dark when he came home, so it's not like he would see the face, you know what I mean? Like,
right, it's not like they were under a police lineup where everything's nice and bright and shiny.
Right.
Easy
so
to
it very
identify.
well could have been, you know, a great-grandmother or grandmother, or, you know, hell, it could have even been baby ghost in a different form.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just playing that protector role to keep you safe, especially like you said, where it feels like a lot of your childhood was just not necessarily evil or bad, but just in a dark place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is rough growing up, having that feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah. But even like, so we moved across the street, right, when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9. And my mom, when she was dating my dad, or like younger, they did like, in the 80s, ceramics were super popular. So they did a lot of ceramic things. And she decorates for every season. And she had these like ceramic bunny rabbits that had this like, the tail was a button that you would push and it would make sound. And it died, you know, like the sound, years ago, but she would still decorate with it. And so when we moved across the street into the house that they live in now, sometimes it would go off, and there was literally like, yes, logically, okay, it could have still had a little bit of juice, but let's face it, like, it didn't, you know, and it would just randomly go off. Well, funny, that house, Google took it off now because Google like updated all of their like pictures and stuff, but you used to be able to Google my parents' address, and in the front window you would see, and I mean like people that I did it, you know, at the current job that we both work at now, you know, like with people, and I showed them on the Google picture of my parents' address, you would see a male standing there in a top hat. No joke.
Okay, first off, I'm really disappointed you're not telling me this until now. Because I would have loved to have seen something like that.
I know.
Oh, man, that's
Yeah.
like standing there like in like a window or in a doorway. Oh,
in the
man.
window, yeah. Like you, and it's not like I could show you that and photoshopped it. It was from the Google car that used to go by and take pictures of the homes for Google Maps. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was a thing.
Well, they catch a lot of weird, creepy
Yeah.
things.
Yep.
And, well, that's, like, how clear was the face?
Very clear.
See,
Like, okay, so here's how I can picture it now. So, like, you know the Haunted Mansion at Disney?
yes.
The, like, Master Gracie, like, him in his top hat, or, like, one of the hitchhiking ghosts, the one that has the top hat. That is what the guy looked like. Yeah.
It's just that sort of ethereal.
But he had a top hat. You could clearly, like, look at the picture on Google that was not photoshopped and see the image of a guy standing there.
I wonder if I can go. So there's a website called the Wayback Machine,
Oh.
and it literally lets you pull up and find old websites or old versions of websites. So I'm wondering if
Yeah.
we could use that to to find that, because I would love to get that and maybe post a link to it somewhere so that people can check
Yeah,
it
I'm
out
obviously not going to
themselves.
give their address, but I would like.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't give the address. I would,
Yeah.
but if I could get a picture of it, that would be cool. Especially something to like put up on Instagram or things like that. Sorry, my dog has decided to come and say hello to all of us.
Yeah, it's not ghosts. Sorry to disappoint y'all.
Yeah, no ghosts. But again, I didn't have any of those experiences
Yeah.
growing up. So that's crazy. And so growing up, like I said, I didn't have any of these experiences. But you're reminding me of another friend that I've lost touch with. She, and even her mom would back her up on this, grew up with a family of ghosts. And she was a Navy brat like me. So we moved all over the country, all over the world. And she swears that she had a family of ghosts that would follow her from house to house wherever they were. Her mom would hear them. Other people in the family would hear them. And it was always like you could hear kids playing and laughing when there was not supposed to be anyone upstairs. You would hear people coming and going, walking up and down stairs when there's not supposed to be anyone else in the house, or at least no one on the second floor when everyone's down at dinner, and all that crazy stuff. And you're reminding me a lot of what she brought to the table, but she never was afraid of them from what I remember. It was just something that occurred, that happened.
Yeah, I would say I never felt fear, except for
The
hains.
hains.
Yeah, those definitely. Whew. But these were friendly. They, like I said, like I'm 100% convinced that what I was seeing was a family. You know, because the neighborhood that I live in is an old historic neighborhood. You know, my home was built in the 40s. I think my parents' house that they live in now might have been like 1938, maybe, like, so around. You're like, we live in bungalows, so it's not like they're new builds. They're homes that have been there for a very long time.
Well, and you specifically live in an area that's been established for a very long time. Just so you guys know, we're based out of the Tampa area, and there are a lot of very old historic homes and neighborhoods in this region, and they go back, you know, to when Florida was part of the Spanish Empire. So there's a lot of history here, a lot of Cuban history, a lot of Spanish, a lot of American history. It's a crazy hodgepodge blend of stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me, if maybe you had some family from way back that, even if it wasn't their house, maybe it was their property, or maybe even someone that might have been related to you, you know, just because you're talking about, you know, maybe it being a grandmother or great grandmother. Yeah. And you never got any uneasy feelings with them. It was just, oh, hey, there you are again.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, baby ghosts would literally come with me everywhere. So again, I don't know if it was like the spiritual aspect, like a guardian angel, Or if I was actually seeing a child ghost that was like, hey, you can see me? We're the same age? Cool.
We're hanging.
Friends.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
We are buds.
yeah.
See, and I feel like that's my friend, she would talk about the family, and I want to say it's been a long time. I mean, this was almost 30 years ago.
Oh, look, now who's aging themselves?
Hey, I'm 40 in less than a week. I have no problem admitting it. But she would talk about this family, and I know specifically there was at least one child, and I don't know if they had a lot of interaction, but when she would talk about it, there was a familiarity about the way she would speak about what it was. And it could just be that she'd always had it. I kind of almost wish I could find her and reach out to her and either bring her on the show, which I don't know if she would do that, or at least give me a comment about it. Like, does she still see this? Does she believe it still? Like, you know, that would be really interesting. Now, to wrap kind of this up, do you, like, so you obviously still believe that. Mm-hmm. I know you said you haven't had a lot of experiences from our previous episodes since you've gotten older, but you said that's mainly just because you don't invite it into your life anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I've gone on ghost tours. You know, I hope that I do see that, but I don't see things anymore. But I don't not feel things, if that makes sense. Like, it's not, I do feel protected, you know, but I'm also a believer. So it's like, how do you differentiate between, you know what I mean? Like, is this a guardian angel or is this a ghost, you know?
Right. Or the two even separate from each other. Like,
yeah.
You know, there is the belief that when you see a ghost, you're not seeing a ghost because by some beliefs, the spirit's already moved on. The spirit is either gone up or it's gone down. Right. So when you're seeing a ghost, you either have to be seeing a guardian angel or you have to be seeing some sort of demon.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the other thing. Like, you don't know what it is you're actually seeing. Right.
Which is why you don't invite it in.
Yep.
You don't give it your name,
no.
even if it's already said it. Don't say more.
Yep.
There's supposedly power in names.
100%, absolutely.
And like I said, you don't invite it, you don't give it your name, and so I want to say you don't interact with them, but at the same time, I think that has to be a case by case basis.
Yeah. Because
if you're getting a bad vibe, obviously the best thing is shut it down, walk away, get up, get out, move.
Yep, and you have your own power to say you're welcome here or you're not welcome here. Like, that is what you bring to yourself. So if you say, you know what I mean, like, whatever, I'm not going to say it, but like, if you say to something, you're welcome here, then it's going to stay. But if you tell something to leave, it has to leave because that is your power that you are protecting yourself with.
It makes a lot of sense.
So.
And I'll try to keep that in mind if I ever have an experience. I think if I did, I would just be so excited about it.
Yeah, that you would scare it away.
I would scare it away. Like, do, tell me more. Like, why are you here? What brought you to me? Why me? Like, can we talk? Like, what's going on? Yeah, I would probably scare it.
I feel like you'd get, like, really excited, like a little high school girl, and they'd be like, all right, peace out. I'm, you know.
I'm not saying that comparison has been made previously about me when I get into something, but I'm not saying it hasn't been either. So, all right. Well, thank you, Drusilla, again for coming on and talking with me, and I hope we will hear from you in future episodes. Do you have anything to part with? Any last words of wisdom or advice that you want to give people out there who may or may not have these experiences?
Definitely protect yourself with boundaries. If you're gonna go do something, if you're looking for something, make sure you have yourself protected. It is your word against whatever is or is not out there.
All right. So there you go, guys. Protect yourself. All right, guys. So for the second episode of Tales from the Dark Roast, again, I'm Mortimer James. My guest has been Drusilla Nyx. Remember, keep your coffee mugs and your stories dark because I want to hear them.